Alrighty, so this is a video for those of you who weren't ready, who didn't do the pre-lab in time. This is a video of me doing the lab. I am recording this at home, which is kind of fun, but let's get started. Step one here is to get your copper wire. Here's my copper wire that I brought home with me. But as you can tell, and I hope you can tell, it's not very pretty. It doesn't look like shiny, nice copper. It's kind of dull, and that's because, like I said, it's been sitting for about a year and it hasn't been touched. So it's really oxidized, like all that copper is oxidized. But I can get rid of that, like I said, with a little bit of steel wool. And if I just swipe that steel wool over the wire, you can see already how it's getting shinier here. Because all I'm doing is stripping off the outer layer of this wire. Just a really thin layer of oxidation to reveal the nice, shiny, clean copper underneath. So that's step one. There we go. You can see how much nicer that is. Very shiny metal. And now I have pure copper here. There's no copper oxide on there. Alright, the next step is to find the mass of the vial of silver nitrate. I'm not going to be writing this down for you. I'm not going to share my data table with you. So I need you to record this number in the appropriate spot on your own paper. .46 grams. Great. Okay, so next is to find the mass of the copper wire, because we need the mass of both of our reactants before the reaction happens. I'm going to sort of coil it up like this, just so it all fits on the balance, because I don't want it hanging off like this, because then there's a chance that like it's touching the desk right here, and that's actually going to make the mass go down, right? So I don't want that. I want everything to be touching the balance. There we go, and we can see how big of a difference that was. 2.92 as your mass of copper. Great. Next step, we can get our reaction going, but we got to make our solution of silver nitrate first. This is my water. I already measured it out. The flask is just to keep the test tube from spilling over. And now I need to add my silver nitrate to my test tube. There we go, just like that. And now I need to swirl this until it dissolves, which shouldn't take very long at all because silver nitrate is highly soluble in water, which means it dissolves really easily, and you can dissolve a lot of it in just a small amount of water. So this should dissolve fairly quickly. And I see a few particles floating around in there still, so I'm going to keep swirling. And now we're good. All that silver nitrate is dissolved. I can put that down here because I need to prepare my copper coil. Actually, check this out. Look, there's some silver nitrate. I don't know if you can see. There's some silver nitrate still in the vial. That is an issue. Okay, I need to get that silver nitrate out. And to do that, I'm going to rinse it with a little bit of water. Right now, the silver nitrate that was left in here, I want it to dissolve in this water, actually. And then I can add that water to my test tube. Okay. Let me do one more rinse, because now there's dissolved silver nitrate in the leftover water, you know what I mean? So I'm rinsing it out. That should have gotten all the silver nitrate out. Now every little bit of silver nitrate that was in my vial to begin with, now it's all dissolved in this water here in my test tube, which is good. That's what I want. Great. I can put this away for now, the balance. And I can prepare my copper So remember, we just want to coil this around something like thin and long. I'm using this metal straw that I have. Get a nice tight coil to make like a spring of copper. And just slide that out like that, and here's my spring. I'm going to stretch it like the instructions say so that it's just a little bit longer than my test tube, because I want it to stick out so I can grab it easily. And that's pretty much it, right? I just need to plop it in there and get the reaction going. So here we go. I'm going to change the camera for you so you can see a little bit better. So we can see immediately. We can see immediately that the outside of that copper wire is getting covered with these crystals, and it really does look cool. Those are your silver crystals forming on the outside of your copper wire. We can see what it looked like before, right? The stuff that's not in the solution isn't reacting, but underneath, wow, look at that. Really fast reaction. Now, like I say in the procedure, this will take 25 minutes to react. So check this out. Look. So I can shake the coil. All that silver falls off. All the silver falls off the copper coil and settles to the bottom, right? And remember, the reason that I'm doing that is because if I don't, and I just let the silver build up, eventually the silver will cover up all of the copper, and then the copper is not making contact with the solution. So that will actually prevent the reaction from happening, because the copper needs to be making contact with the solution. So I'm going to keep shaking that every, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes just to re-expose the copper. But other than that, I'm going to let it sit for a while. And I think I'm actually I'm gonna stop recording for now. Just to, I don't know, you don't need to watch it. You don't need to watch it react for 25 minutes. That'd be kind of boring. So I'll check in with you at the end of 25 minutes. Hey guys, real quick. It hasn't been 25 minutes yet, but I thought this looked really cool. I just want to show you. Look at how thick those crystals are. I don't know if you can really see with the light. Hold on, wait. Can I do that? Ooh, okay. Yeah, look at that. Look at all those crystals. That's really cool. And then when I shake this, they're all coming off. I think this is going to take a little bit longer than 25 minutes, maybe, judging on just like how fast it's going. Or how much it's making. It's like, that's crazy. Cool. I also realized, actually, that I did not do, I didn't measure the vial, like it says, because that's an important step. What is that? That's step 9A, so I gotta do that. So, turn this light off. There we go. One thing that I'm noticing, though, is I cannot put this on... I can't put this vial right on the balance right now because there's water in there. And I don't want the mass of vial plus water. I want the mass of the vial. So I'm going to dry that real quick before I take the mass. This isn't a step that was in the procedure, because in the original step, I didn't account for the fact that maybe we couldn't get all of the silver nitrate out of the vial. I didn't think that would happen. So, actually, I think I'm going to get better results than any of the groups that are doing it today. Let's see, is that all the water? I think that's pretty clean. I'll put the cap, wait, is there water in the cap? No, I'm good. So, cap back on, and now I can take the mass of the vial. without the silver nitrate. And remember, I need that number because we need to figure out, we need to use the mass of the vial with the silver nitrate and the mass of the vial without the silver nitrate. We can subtract those two numbers to figure out how much silver nitrate we actually used in the reaction. You cannot read that probably, but it's 9.71. 9.71 grams. So that's the mass of the empty vial with the lid, is 9.71 grams. All right, the other 9B is to get a plastic weigh boat, label it with your name. I don't need to label it because I'm the only one here. Find the mass of the weigh boat, so we do need that. It's 2.39 grams. Again, I don't think you can read that, but it's 2.39 grams. And I found a typo. In your data table, you have labeled beaker empty. This should be labeled weigh boat, not beaker. So this is labeled weigh boat. When it's empty. And that's going to be, what did I say? 2.37 grams. So I'll put that right here. By the way, I told you I wasn't going to give you the data table, but there it is. I already showed it to you, so might as well double down. There's the data table with all the data we've collected so far. We can see that the crystals that are forming on our copper wire aren't looking as pretty anymore, but we're still getting some stuff forming. Let's light this up again. Right, see, not nearly as pretty as, look at the crystals down here, right? Now these are kind of murky and gross. I'm not exactly sure why that is. But there's still silver in there, so... Like I said, we'll let that go for a little bit longer. My goal is to get all of the silver out of solution and turned into crystals. So I think I'll just wait as long as that takes. Okay, I'll check in again later. Okay, I think there's technically more silver still in the solution, but I'm kind of tired of doing this and I want to move on with my day. So we're just gonna call it there. I got a lot of silver out. Look at all the silver crystals there at the bottom. See, so that's quite a bit of silver that we recovered. I don't know if we could have done more or how good of a job we really did, but we'll figure that out in a sec. Let's see, we got to continue with our procedure here at step 10. So we're going to shake the silver crystals off of the wire the best that I can. Trying to get everything off into the test tube. And now, if you look at it closely, you'll see that there is still some silver. I can't get the camera to focus. There we go. You can see some silver still on there. So I'm just going to rinse that off. I'm going to rinse it right into my weigh boat, because this is where I want all my silver to be in the end, is my weigh boat. And you can't see what I'm doing right now, but that is okay. I'm just rinsing it. I don't think I got any silver in that weigh boat. That's okay. There's not really that much on here in the first place. Sometimes you get a whole bunch of silver just stuck to the copper for some reason, but not this time. That's fine. I'm going to set that on this paper towel so it can dry. And while I do that, I'm going to start working on separating my silver from the rest of my contents here. By the way, look at it. It's blue now. It was not blue before. Before, like when it was silver nitrate solution, that was a clear, colorless solution. And now it's this blue color. You might remember that I did another single replacement reaction as a demo before spring break, where we did aluminum foil with copper chloride, I think. No, it's copper sulfate. And that copper sulfate was also this blue color. So you might know a little bit about copper and copper oxidation. Think about old pennies or the Statue of Liberty. Copper is normally associated, I'm not sure exactly why, but it's associated with this blue color. You get this blue color happening a lot when copper is involved in compounds. And a bunch of solutions that contain copper ions definitely are blue, or this blue-green color. So that's why this blue color's there, because there was no copper in the solution before. Before, all the copper was on the wire, right? But then I was dissolving the copper wire into copper ions, and the silver ions became solid, right? So a real single replacement reaction. By the way, if you're noticing all this black stuff on my hands, I don't have dirty hands, I promise. This is from spilling some silver nitrate on myself earlier today. I think I told all the classes about this already, but if you were absent and you didn't know this, silver nitrate will stain your hands, well, your skin, and definitely your clothes. So this is gonna be here, this black stain on my hand will be here for like a week or two, I think. Eventually it'll go away, but I cannot wash it off. The only way that I could get it off is sodium cyanide. If I wanted to rub cyanide on my hands, that could remove this black stain, but honestly, I don't want to do that. I'm not really interested in putting cyanide on my hands, so I'm just gonna wait to grow new skin cells, I guess. Anyway, let's get going with this, because I want to decant my copper to nitrate solution out of my test tube. This is just a waste beaker. You don't, because you're not doing the lab, but your classmates have a waste beaker at their station. And you can see I poured it so that the solution came out, but the silver is still in the test tube. You can see a little bit of blue solution still in there, but mostly silver, which is what I want. But of course, eventually I want the silver in my weigh boat, so I need to rinse it out into my weigh boat. So I'm gonna use my wash bottle, kind of tilt it like that. Well, it didn't work. I couldn't get it out. Hold on. There we go. Do another rinse. I don't want to use too much water because I don't want to fill my weigh boat up with water. But there we go. I think I got all of the silver out of my test tube there, which is what I want, right? All my silver to end up in my weigh boat. I'm almost done, but I'm not quite, because like I said, I want silver in my weigh boat, and right now I have silver and water and copper ions and nitrate ions. I don't want all that. I just want the silver. So I poured some more water in there. This is called washing your product. I just sprayed some water, and now I'm going to decant again. Because you have to remember, this silver, while it is pure silver in there, it's not super clean. It's real dirty, because all that liquid in there, all that liquid, it's not just water. There's also, remember, all those ions dissolved in it. So there's copper ions and there's nitrate ions still in the silver, right? It's just sort of like sitting on top. So by spraying them a couple times with water, the idea is that the silver ions, sorry, the copper ions and the nitrate ions are dissolving in the water rather than resting on top of the silver. And then if I sort of let it sit for a second, the silver floats to the bottom, and the impurities kind of stay in the water. So then when I pour the water out, it takes the impurities with it. That's the idea here. So the more times you rinse, the purer your product is going to be. But there's also a chance that each time I rinse, I'm losing a little bit of silver, because the silver sort of stays floating in the, I don't think, maybe you can see that. There's little tiny little flakes of silver floating around that aren't really ever going to settle just because they're too light. So if I continue to rinse, and I rinse over and over and over again, my product will get purer and purer, but it will also, like, I'll get less and less of it over time because I'll lose it to my rinsing. So the sweet spot with rinsing this, for this lab and for our purposes is about 3 times. I'm going to do a 4th one just for fun. But I think the procedure asks you to rinse 3 times, and that's plenty for what we need. Cool. Now you can probably see, I think you can, especially with the light. Yeah, you can see that there's some silver particles floating around in there, but honestly, their mass, because they're so tiny, their mass is negligible. We don't really need to worry about those. Look at how much is there, right? That's a lot of silver, and that's really pretty, actually. It's one of the best results I've ever gotten. And I've done this reaction probably more than 10 times, maybe 20 times. And there we go. So, we are not completely done. Because there's still some water in there. So I can't plop this on the balance just yet to figure out how much silver I actually made. I kind of have to wait for that water to evaporate. And there's some tricks that I can do here to make that go faster. Your classmates will leave it overnight, and we're not going to know how much silver we made as a class until Friday, when all the water has had a chance to evaporate. Okay, so there's that. Also, we need to come back and weigh our copper. So we need to know how much copper we used in this reaction. So I'm going to uncoil it. And now, especially at the end here, that's really thin. I actually almost broke it. And you don't want to break your copper, because then you might lose some pieces. And we really want to know how much we reacted. So if we break off pieces and then lose those pieces, that wouldn't be very, very helpful here. The reason I'm uncoiling it is that it'll make it easier to dry, because it's still a little bit wet. So I'll just wrap it in this paper towel. Get all the rest of the water off. There we go, nice and dry. And then I can fold it up so it fits on my balance again. And let's move the camera now so you can see. That's better, okay. The mass of our copper after our reaction is 2.60. 2.60 grams. So that's a fair amount of copper that we used, right? Because before the reaction, it was 2.92. After the reaction, 2.60. So that concludes... Actually, it doesn't conclude the lab because I still need the mass of my silver after. I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then I'll show maybe just a picture of the mass. I don't want to hook my camera back up again. But then, yeah, I'll get this video uploaded tonight, so that way y'all can watch it first thing tomorrow. Okay, all the calculations, I'm not going to do those for you, obviously. You'll do those yourself on Thursday, I guess, and then Friday as well. So, yeah. Okay, I'm done.